Nicki Minaj is done for. Over 1 million Barbs unfollowed her overnight. She's calling Trump handsome, defending MAGA, and the entire internet is losing their minds. But 50 Cent says she didn't lose it. She's running for her life from Jay-Z. And honestly, the receipts are terrifying. Everybody thought they knew what happened when Nicki showed up at that conservative rally. The Barbs immediately turned on her. Twitter exploded. People said she sold out, lost her mind, betrayed everything she stood for. That was the version everyone repeated. She's just another celebrity chasing a check, right? But now, 50 Cent drops a whole different story. He's saying Nicki isn't crazy, she's scared, that Jay-Z and Roc Nation have been plotting her downfall for years. And she finally snapped because she thinks she's about to lose her freedom. And when you look at the timeline, when you see what Nicki's been posting for months, the whole narrative is twisting. Let me break down exactly what happened on December 21st, because this is where everything starts getting wild. Nicki Minaj showed up as a surprise guest at America Fest in Phoenix, Arizona. This is the massive conservative event hosted by Turning Point USA. And she wasn't there to perform Pink Friday tracks. She was on stage with Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, who now runs Turning Point. And Nicki sat there in front of thousands of MAGA supporters and openly praised Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. She called them role models for young men. She said they were strong, admirable. She looked directly into the camera and said, quote, "Dear young men, you have amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president." Handsome? Dashing? Those were her exact words about Donald Trump, the same man she clowned relentlessly during his first term, the same man she refused to be associated with just a few years ago. But it gets even crazier. Nicki then called J.D. Vance an assassin. Now, if you don't know, Erica Kirk's husband was tragically killed just 3 months ago. And Nicki sat there, looked at this grieving widow, and used the word assassin to describe the vice president. The entire crowd went silent for a second. But Erica? She laughed. She thought it was funny. The whole interaction felt like we were watching something from a different dimension. And Nicki didn't stop there. She went after California Governor Gavin Newsom, calling him news scum, which is literally Trump's nickname for him. She told him to tread lightly, told the right wing doesn't have a problem cleaning up scum. The crowd went absolutely wild. They ate it up. Standing ovation, chants, the whole 9 yards. Now, Nicki tried to frame this as some kind of personal awakening. She told Erica Kirk that she got tired of being pushed around, that she realized she had something inside her stronger than what's out there. She said she wasn't going to back down anymore, not ever again. And the way she said it, there was something in her voice. Fear? Desperation? I don't know, but it didn't sound like empowerment. It sounded like survival mode. So the question everybody started asking was, who was pushing her around? What is she actually talking about? Because Nicki Minaj is one of the biggest rappers on the planet. She's been the queen of rap for over a decade. She has millions of loyal fans. So who has the power to push her around to the point where she flips her entire political stance overnight? That's when the theories started spreading. And it all comes back to Jay-Z and Roc Nation. See, there's been this narrative floating around for months that Jay-Z has been trying to destroy Nicki's career, that he's been working behind the scenes to get her arrested, blacklisted, silenced. And allegedly, it was 50 Cent who warned her about it. One fan posted a whole breakdown on X saying that after the Nicki Minaj train incident where she got arrested in Amsterdam, they thought she was finished. But then the Megan Thee Stallion drama happened. Nicki started seeing Jay-Z's fingerprints all over Megan's career moves. She got intel from 50 Cent that Jay was actively trying to end her, including orchestrating her arrest. And that's when Nicki started going on these unhinged rants about Jay-Z on social media. She even reached out to Democrats for help, but they refused because they were loyal to Jay-Z. So Nicki felt completely isolated, abandoned, hunted. And in her mind, the only people willing to protect her were on the right. That's the theory. And honestly, when you start looking at the evidence, it gets hard to dismiss. Nicki has been posting about Roc Nation for months. She's been calling out Desiree Perez, the CEO of Roc Nation, non-stop. Desiree was sued by her own daughter, Deanne. The lawsuit alleged that Desiree orchestrated an unlawful psychiatric detention of her daughter and made false accusations about Deanne's husband in an attempt to destroy their marriage. Mainstream media never covered this case. Nobody talked about it. If it wasn't for Nicki amplifying it on social media, most people wouldn't even know it existed. Nicki posted about it constantly. She publicly supported Deanne, she shared court updates, she called on the federal government multiple times to investigate Desiree and Roc Nation for alleged RICO crimes. She was relentless. And then, just a few months ago, on July 16th, Nicki called out Desiree again, but this time she pointed out something that made the whole situation even messier. Desiree Perez received a full pardon from President Donald Trump on January 21st, 2021, during his final hours in office. This is public record. Desiree was pardoned for a conspiracy to distribute narcotics conviction that dated back to 1994. And here's the kicker. It's been alleged for years that Desiree got off easy in that case because she became a federal informant. She flipped. She cooperated. And when Nicki posted about the pardon, she added a sarcastic caption, "Thank you for your cooperation in this matter." So now, let's connect the dots. Nicki believes that Roc Nation and Desiree Perez sabotaged her career and tried to get her arrested. She's been screaming about it for months. She's been calling them criminals, snitches, corrupt. And yet, she's now publicly supporting the man who pardoned Desiree, the man who let her walk free, the man who, in Nicki's narrative, enabled the very people trying to destroy her. How does that make sense? Why would Nicki align herself with Trump if Trump is the one who gave Desiree a get-out-of-jail-free card? That's the part that's breaking everybody's brain, because on the surface, it makes zero sense. But when you consider the possibility that Nicki feels like she has no other options, that she thinks the entire establishment is against her, that she believes Jay-Z controls the Democrats, the media, the industry, then maybe, in her mind, Trump and the right wing are the only ones powerful enough to protect her. Maybe she's not endorsing their ideology. Maybe she's just trying to survive. Now let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts clicking into place. This isn't just about one rally. This isn't just about one political statement. This is about years of tension, power plays, and industry warfare that's been building in the shadows. And to understand why Nicki would do something this extreme, you have to understand the history between her and Jay-Z. Let's rewind. Nicki Minaj has been the dominant female rapper for over a decade. She's broken records, sold out tours, built an empire. But in recent years, there's been a noticeable shift. New female rappers started emerging: Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Ice Spice, Glorilla, and almost all of them have been co-signed, managed, or affiliated with Roc Nation in some capacity. Now, that's not a coincidence. Jay-Z has been strategically positioning these artists as Nicki's competition, and Nicki has been watching it happen in real time. Think about it. Cardi B's breakout hit, Bodak Yellow, came out in 2017. Roc Nation immediately got involved. Cardi started getting major endorsement deals, Grammy nominations, Super Bowl appearances. She became the face of female rap almost overnight. And Nicki? She started getting painted as the bitter, jealous veteran who couldn't handle new talent. The media ran with that narrative. They pitted Cardi and Nicki against each other at every opportunity. And behind the scenes, Roc Nation was fueling the fire. Then came Megan Thee Stallion, Hot Girl Summer, Savage, WAP. Roc Nation signed her to management. And again, the same pattern. Megan gets pushed to the forefront, Nicki gets painted as the hater, the old guard, the one who can't let go. And Nicki started noticing that every time she had beef with one of these girls, Roc Nation was somehow in the picture. But here's where it gets darker. In 2024, Nicki got arrested in Amsterdam during her Pink Friday 2 world tour. The official story was that authorities found a small amount of a controlled substance in her luggage. She was detained, questioned, and eventually released. But the arrest caused massive disruptions. Shows got canceled, she lost money, her reputation took a hit. And Nicki started saying publicly that the arrest felt like a setup, that it was too convenient, too perfectly timed. She started hinting that someone with power wanted her tour derailed. And that's when the 50 Cent connection comes in. 50 and Nicki have been allies for years. They've always shown each other love, defended each other publicly. And according to the rumors, 50 reached out to Nicki after the Amsterdam arrest and told her what he'd heard through his industry connections, that Jay-Z was behind it, that Roc Nation had been working with authorities to build a case against her, that they wanted her off the board permanently. Now, I can't confirm if that conversation actually happened, but Nicki's behavior after that arrest definitely changed. She started going scorched earth on social media, tweeting about Jay-Z and Beyoncé, calling out Roc Nation's alleged crimes, posting about the Desiree Perez lawsuit. She was acting like someone who felt cornered, desperate. And when you're in that headspace, you start looking for allies anywhere you can find them. Now let's talk about 50 Cent's history with Jay-Z, because this is crucial context. 50 and Jay have been beefing for decades. It goes back to the early 2000s when 50 was dominating the rap game. He's openly said that Jay-Z tried to sabotage his career multiple times. One of the most famous examples is when Jay allegedly pushed to have 50 removed from the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show. Dr. Dre wanted 50 there, Eminem wanted 50 there, but according to 50, Jay used his influence to try and block it. The tension between them has never gone away. So when 50 comes out defending Nicki and pushing this narrative that she's being targeted by Jay-Z, some people think he's just using Nicki as a proxy to go after his longtime enemy, that he doesn't actually care about Nicki's well-being, he just sees an opportunity to damage Jay's reputation. And honestly, that's possible. 50 is strategic like that. He's always been a master of stirring the pot. But here's the thing. Even if 50 has his own agenda, that doesn't mean the core theory is wrong. Nicki clearly believes she's being targeted. She's been saying it for months. And her decision to align with Trump and the MAGA movement, as insane as it looks, starts to make sense when you realize she thinks the entire establishment is controlled by Jay-Z. The Democrats? Jay's fundraising for them. The media? Roc Nation is one of the most powerful entities in the game. So in Nicki's mind, the only people outside of Jay's influence are on the right. And here's where the most disturbing part is. Trump pardoned Desiree Perez. Nicki knows this. She posted about it. She mocked it. She used it as proof that Desiree has connections to powerful people who can make her legal problems disappear. So why would Nicki then turn around and seek protection from the same man who gave Desiree that pardon? It makes no sense. Unless Nicki believes that Trump's willingness to pardon people means he's also willing to protect people. That if she aligns with him publicly, if she becomes useful to his movement, then maybe he'll shield her from whatever she thinks is coming. That's the play. That's the desperation. And when you look at it through that lens, her appearance at America Fest wasn't about politics. It wasn't about ideology. It was a survival move, a public declaration that she's under new protection now, that she's untouchable because she's aligned with power that even Jay-Z can't control. At least, that's what she's hoping. But here's the part that really hits different, the part that makes this whole situation feel less like a conspiracy theory and more like a tragedy. Because regardless of what you think of Nicki's politics, regardless of whether you believe the Jay-Z theory or not, what we're watching is someone in complete isolation, someone who feels like the world is closing in on them. And that's heartbreaking. Nicki Minaj built her entire career on being unapologetically herself. She was the loud, colorful, fearless woman who didn't bow to anyone. She fought her way into a male-dominated industry and became a legend. She inspired millions of young women to be confident, to be bold, to take up space. And now, she's on stage with people who represent everything she used to stand against, praising men who've made careers on putting women down, aligning herself with a movement that many of her fans see as oppressive. And you can see it in her eyes. When she's talking to Erica Kirk, there's no joy there, no confidence. She's saying the words, but they feel hollow, forced, like she's reading from a script she doesn't believe. And when she talks about being pushed around and not backing down anymore, her voice cracks, just slightly. But it's there, that little tremor that tells you this isn't empowerment, it's fear. The Barbs are devastated. Over 1 million of them unfollowed her on Instagram in a matter of days. The comment sections on her posts are filled with heartbreak. People saying they feel betrayed, that they don't recognize her anymore, that the Nicki they loved is gone. And you can tell it's not just anger, it's grief. They're mourning someone who's still alive, because the person they see now doesn't feel like the same woman who gave them Roman's Revenge, Moment for Life, Superbass. And here's what makes it even sadder. Nicki's son is still so young. She just became a mother a few years ago. She talks about him constantly, posts about him, says he's her whole world. And now she's making decisions that could permanently damage her legacy, decisions that her son will one day have to reckon with. Imagine being her child and growing up knowing your mother aligned herself with a political movement that so many people found harmful. Imagine the conversations he'll have to have, the explanations he'll have to give. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Nicki is thinking about her son. Maybe she's so scared of losing her freedom, of going to prison, that she's willing to sacrifice her reputation to make sure she's there for him. Maybe this isn't about politics at all. Maybe it's about a mother who's terrified she's about to be taken away from her baby. And if that's true, if that's really what's driving this, then this story is so much darker than anyone realizes. Because what we're witnessing isn't a celebrity endorsing a political party. We're witnessing someone in survival mode making desperate, irrational decisions because they don't see any other way out. And whether the threat is real or imagined, the pain is clearly real. The fear is clearly real. And that's the part that should make all of us pause. Because this isn't entertainment anymore. This is someone's life unraveling in real time. Now let's dig even deeper into the evidence, because the more you look, the more disturbing this gets. Fans online have been working like full-blown investigators. They're going through Nicki's old tweets, comparing them to her recent behavior, and the contradictions are staggering. And I'm not just talking about political flip-flopping. I'm talking about personality shifts that suggest something serious is happening behind the scenes. Let's start with Nicki's tweets about Trump from 2017 and 2018. She called him out multiple times. She criticized his policies. She made it clear she didn't support him. In one tweet, she talked about how his administration's actions were hurting communities of color. In another, she defended immigrants and called out his rhetoric. She was vocal, she was consistent, and she never once hinted at any admiration for him. Fast forward to December 2024. She's calling him handsome, dashing, a role model. She's defending J.D.
Now, let's talk about 50 Cent's role in all this again, because his involvement adds another layer of complexity. 50 has been publicly defending Nicki non-stop. He's been amplifying the Jay-Z conspiracy theory, he's been posting about Rock Nation, he's been framing Nicki as a victim. And a lot of people are asking, why? Why is 50 so invested in this? Some think it's genuine friendship, that 50 sees himself in Nicki, that he knows what it's like to be targeted by powerful industry figures, and he doesn't want her to go through it alone. And there's evidence to support that. 50 and Nicki have been cool for years. They've always shown each other love. He defended her during the Cardi B beef. She defended him during the Diddy documentary backlash. There's real history there. But others think 50 is using Nicki as a weapon, that he's amplifying her story because it damages Jay-Z. And 50 has made no secret of the fact that he despises Jay. They've been enemies for decades. 50 has accused Jay of trying to sabotage him, blackball him, erase him from hip-hop history. So when Nicki starts going after Jay and Roc Nation, 50 sees an opportunity. He can support her publicly, position himself as the hero, and simultaneously take shots at his longtime rival. It's strategic, it's calculated, and it's very on brand for 50 Cent. But here's the twist. Even if 50 is using Nicki for his own agenda, that doesn't mean his information is wrong. 50 Cent is deeply connected in the industry. He hears things, he knows things, and if he's telling Nicki that Jay-Z is coming for her, there's a chance he's actually telling the truth, or at least a version of the truth. The question is whether he's warning her out of loyalty or manipulating her for his own purposes. And honestly, it could be both. Meanwhile, fans are divided. Some are standing by Nicki no matter what. They're buying into the conspiracy theory. They're saying she's being blackmailed, threatened, set up. They're blaming Jay-Z, Roc Nation, the industry, the government. They're treating this like a heroic last stand. But other fans are done. They're saying Nicki is making her own choices, that nobody forced her to go to that rally, that she's a grown woman who's responsible for her own actions, and that using conspiracy theories to justify aligning with Trump is just a cop-out. And both sides have a point, because the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Nicki might genuinely believe she's in danger, and she might also be making terrible decisions because of that belief. Fear makes people do irrational things, and when you combine fear with isolation, with paranoia, with a fractured sense of reality, you get exactly what we're seeing now, a superstar in freefall, grasping at anything that might save her. Now, before we move forward, let's talk about some of the side stories and smaller details that people have been connecting to this larger narrative. Because this situation isn't happening in a vacuum. There are other events, other moments, other clues that fans are pointing to as evidence that something bigger has been brewing for years. First, let's revisit Nicki's beef with Megan Thee Stallion. This wasn't just typical rap beef. This got personal. This got ugly. And the way it played out felt coordinated. Megan released Hiss in early 2024, and in that song, she took shots at Nicki. Not subtle shots, direct, targeted bars. And Nicki responded with Bigfoot, which was, honestly, one of the most chaotic diss tracks of her career. She went after Megan's credibility, her appearance, her trauma related to the Tory Lanez shooting. It was brutal. But here's what fans noticed. Megan Thee Stallion is managed by Roc Nation, and the timing of Hiss felt deliberate, like it was designed to provoke Nicki into a public meltdown. And it worked. Nicki spent weeks going on social media rants, her fans and Megan's fans went to war, the whole situation became a media circus. And while all of that was happening, Nicki's reputation took hit after hit. She started getting painted as unstable, obsessed, out of control. And some fans think that was the point, that Roc Nation was using Megan as a pawn to discredit Nicki and make her look unhinged. Then there's the Cardi B history. Nicki and Cardi's beef has been well documented. The Met Gala fight, the social media subtweets, the interviews where they took shots at each other. And again, Roc Nation was in Cardi's corner the entire time. They helped her navigate the drama. They helped her maintain her image while Nicki's image got dragged through the mud. And whether or not Roc Nation was actively orchestrating the beef, they definitely benefited from it. Because every time Nicki beefed with another female rapper, it weakened her position as the queen of rap. It made her look petty, territorial, threatened. Now, let's talk about the Amsterdam arrest again, because new details have emerged that make the situation look even more suspicious. According to some reports, Dutch authorities received a tip about Nicki's luggage before her flight even landed. Someone allegedly informed them that she was carrying illegal substances, and the amount they found was so small that it shouldn't have resulted in an arrest, just a fine. But they detained her anyway. They held her for hours, they made a public spectacle of it. And Nicki's team has said repeatedly that it felt like a setup, like someone wanted her tour disrupted, like someone wanted her embarrassed on a global stage. And if you believe the theory, that someone is Jay-Z, because what better way to damage her career than to get her arrested in a foreign country, to make her look like a criminal, to plant seeds of doubt in her fans' minds about who she really is. Then there's the 50 Cent angle, which we've touched on, but let's go deeper. 50 Cent released a documentary about Diddy in 2024 that reignited old rumors and allegations, and Nicki publicly defended 50 when people criticized the documentary. She posted a photo of him with the caption, "Trumps over chumps." Now, that phrase is interesting because it suggests Nicki was already starting to align herself with Trump's ideology before the rally, like she was testing the waters, seeing how her fans would react. And 50 has made political moves that raised eyebrows. He's flirted with conservative talking points in the past, he's criticized Democratic policies, and just last month he threw a public tantrum when a progressive mayor was elected in New York City. So some people think 50 has been slowly nudging Nicki to the right for months, that he's been feeding her information, influencing her perspective, positioning her to make this exact move. Because if Nicki publicly endorses Trump and MAGA, it damages Jay-Z's relationship with the Democratic Party. It creates a rift. It makes Jay look like he's losing control of the culture. And that's 50's ultimate goal, not to save Nicki, but to wound Jay-Z. To prove that Jay's influence isn't as strong as people think, to show that even one of the biggest female rappers in the world would rather run to Trump than deal with Jay's machine. It's psychological warfare disguised as friendship. And Nicki might be too deep in her own paranoia to realize she's being used. But again, that doesn't mean the threat isn't real. Maybe 50 is manipulating her, and maybe Jay-Z is coming for her. Both things can be true. That's what makes this whole situation so twisted. There are layers upon layers, and the more you peel back, the more you realize nobody's hands are clean here. Not Nicki's, not 50's, not Jay's, not Roc Nation's. Everybody is playing a game.
And this story is still unfolding, with way bigger implications than just one rapper's political breakdown. What we're seeing here is how power operates in the music industry, how influence gets weaponized, how artists become collateral damage in wars between executives and moguls, and how fear can drive someone to make decisions that destroy everything they built. The bigger conversation is about control, about who gets to have a career in this industry and who gets erased. Nicki Minaj is one of the most successful rappers of all time. She's moved units, she's broken records, she's influenced an entire generation, and yet she's out here acting like she's fighting for her survival. That should tell you something about the power dynamics at play. If someone as big as Nicki can feel this threatened, what does that say about artists with less leverage? What does that say about the younger artists coming up who don't have her resources or her platform? It says that this industry is ruthless, that if you cross the wrong people, if you refuse to play ball, if you become more trouble than you're worth, they will come for you, and they have the tools to do it. Legal teams, media connections, political relationships, financial pressure. They can make your life hell without ever throwing a punch. And maybe that's what's happening to Nicki. Maybe she's not crazy. Maybe she's just the first one brave enough or desperate enough to say it out loud. But here's the other side of this. Even if everything Nicki believes is true, even if Jay-Z and Roc Nation are really trying to destroy her, her response has been catastrophic. Aligning with Trump and MAGA doesn't protect her. It just alienates her from the people who actually supported her, her fans, her community, the culture that made her a star. She's burning bridges that can never be rebuilt. And for what? A photo op with Erica Kirk? A few applause lines at a conservative rally? That's not protection. That's self-destruction. And this is the warning for anybody out there with a platform, with influence, with something to lose. When you're backed into a corner, when you're scared, when you feel like you have no options, that's when you're most vulnerable to making irreversible mistakes. Nicki's situation is a wild, extreme example, but the core lesson applies to anyone. Fear makes you desperate, and desperate people make bad decisions. So the question becomes, how do you fight back without destroying yourself in the process? Because right now, it looks like Nicki is losing both battles. If Roc Nation really is coming for her, this MAGA alliance won't stop them. And if they're not, if this is all in her head, then she just torched her reputation for no reason. Either way, she's in a worse position than she was before. And that's the tragedy. That someone who was so powerful, so influential, so iconic, is now reduced to this. A pawn in someone else's game, a cautionary tale, a meme. So where does this leave us? Where does Nicki go from here? Because the reality is, she's in an impossible position. If she doubles down on this MAGA pivot, she loses her core fan base permanently. The Barbs are already walking away, over 1 million unfollows in days. That's not a protest, that's a mass exodus. Those fans aren't coming back. And without them, Nicki doesn't have the cultural capital that made her untouchable. But if she tries to backtrack, if she comes out tomorrow and says she made a mistake, that she was scared, that she didn't mean it, nobody's going to believe her. The damage is done. The footage exists. The quotes exist. She called Trump handsome on camera. She defended MAGA policies. She aligned herself with a movement that many people see as harmful. You can't just apologize your way out of that. The internet doesn't forget. The culture doesn't forgive. So, Nicki's options are both terrible. Stay the course and become a pariah in hip-hop, or walk it back and lose all credibility. There's no good path forward. And that's probably by design. If someone really is trying to destroy her, this is exactly how you do it. You'd push her into a corner, you'd isolate her, you'd force her to make a move so desperate, so indefensible, that she could never recover. And whether that's what's happening or not, it's working. Now, let's speculate for a second. What happens if Nicki actually gets indicted? What happens if the feds come knocking? Does she have a case? Does she have evidence of a conspiracy against her? Or is this all paranoia? Because if she gets arrested and there's no proof of Roc Nation's involvement, then this entire MAGA pivot will be seen as a delusion, a breakdown, a mental health crisis playing out on the public stage. But if she does have evidence, if she can prove that Jay-Z and Roc Nation coordinated her downfall, then this story becomes one of the biggest scandals in music history. And that's the uncertainty we're sitting in right now. We don't know what's real and what's perception. We don't know if Nicki is a victim or an architect of her own destruction. We don't know if 50 Cent is helping her or using her as a weapon to go after Jay-Z. Is this loyalty or strategy? Because the more I look at it, the more it feels like everybody in this story has their own agenda, and Nicki might be the only one who actually believes what she's saying. Also, let me know, would you ever align with a political movement you disagree with if you thought it was the only way to protect yourself? Would you sacrifice your reputation, your fan base, your legacy if you believed your freedom was on the line? Because that's the question at the heart of this, and it's not as easy to answer as you might think. Make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update, because I promise you this situation is about to get even messier. More names are going to be pulled in, more allegations are going to surface, and we're going to be here breaking it all down for you. I appreciate every single one of you for rocking with me, for watching, for engaging, for caring about these stories. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and remember, in this industry, loyalty is rare, power is everything, and sometimes the people you think are your enemies are exactly who they appear to be.